Good evening. This is Mike Strokertella with the Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite Modcast. This is a custom map called Fedrid Folly. On the blue side, we have Blessed Spartan as the Chaos Lord. Underleveled Chaos Lord, does not have any of that fancy stuff on his back or the demon sword, but still a tough dude. Walks through cover, can't be suppressed, can be upgraded with either the ridiculous combi flamer or some really ridiculous melee weapons. On the other side, we have Red Rupee, the caster, playing as the Techmarine with that cool helmet. Techmarine is a ranged commander, and I think he's a very good ranged commander in a lot of the ways. I think he's actually, in my opinion, he's the toughest Space Marine commander to play. Both the Apothecary and the Force Commander are pretty easy to just pick up and play. And the Techmarine, to some extent, you can do that too, but I just feel like there's more to him, and then there's more to learn. Do have the Techmarine now going to get assaulted by this Chaos Lord. Chaos Lord will definitely win that fight, but about the Techmarine, you know, I think people tend to get different builds with the Techmarine than they do with the other commanders. Like, I think with both the Apothecary and the Force Commander, you're a lot more likely to see assault Space Marines, especially with the Apothecary. I find that Techmarine players often don't build assault Space Marines. Instead, they'll just get this starting build of 2 scouts and attack, and then go into a Razorback or something, and they can support that Razorback well with 2 scouts and also the Techmarine himself. We do have a lot of focus fire going down on the Chaos Lord. Obviously, one of the good things about the Techmarine is actually that he's ranged, and then if you go with this starting build of 2 scouts and 1 tack, and then the Techmarine himself, that's a lot of range DPS coming from the Space Marines. It's a lot of range DPS, even though Space Marine is generally a low DPS. Even though Space Marine is generally a low DPS army, tacks obviously have pretty low scouts have a pretty low DPS, and then tack DPS is kind of average. But when all 4 of your starting units are doing range damage, that's a lot of DPS. For most races, obviously, they only have, usually they'll have a base melee unit and a base ranged unit. For Space Marines, both of their base units, and by base I mean the units that you can build at the start that cost only requisition, they both do range damage. Scouts getting pretty low on, Scouts making these heretics go down to pretty low on health. Still only bolter scouts, but we see shotguns upgraded right now. It is good to have at least one of those, considering there are 2 heretics from Blessed Spartan and now a Chaos Raptor squad, which I actually think is not a very good choice, especially now that he sees these shotguns. And certainly if Red Rupee gets another shotgun, I don't think that Raptor squad is going to be that useful. So far, slightly even map control, a little bit in Blessed Spartan's favor because he's getting this central line of resources. This middle victory point, the contested victory point, has not been captured. Blessed is going after it with his heretics, but Red Rupee's chasing after those heretics with his attacks and his Techmarine. Techmarine has been upgraded to Bionics. Good choice. Very good anti-melee, especially the first time you use it, because most people don't even see it coming. They just figure the Techmarine's a range commander and they can swarm him, but then they get hit with Bionics the first time, and it's really good, actually. I like that war gear. Scouts do need to go, or they will lose models. Scouts Scouts do get countered by Chaos Space Marines. Even with the shotgun, they get countered. Although the Chaos Space Marines in Tier 1 get countered by tacks. Oh, and we do have the Raptors jumping in here. As long as the Scouts aren't here, then the Raptors will be good. So good, I think just good choice of engagements from Blessed Heretic, although he's moving in too much with his Heretic squads that need to go and get reinforced. Spartan is trying to get 1 model from this Chaos Space Marine squad. Maybe they'll get one with this jump in. They get, yes, 1 model dies, down to 10% health and still 2 models. But we also did see the Flamer on on Red Rupee's tax squad, which will be good for wiping down generators. I often talk about what a great asset I think a Flamer tax squad is. We did have a powerful sweep courtesy of Bionics on the Techmarine going down on the Chaos Raptors. But now with the Chaos Lord in here, this will be a winning fight for Chaos, for Blessed Spartan. Blessed Spartan does not have the victory points. Red Rupee is backcapping with his shotgun scout. His other scout squad does not have shotguns. Generally, if you have 2 scout squads and only one has shotguns, you should backcap with the bolter scout squad, while the shotgun scout comes around to support the main army. Techmarine. So Techmarine, the good thing about the Techmarine is that he does really good stable ranged DPS, and it can actually be hard to force him off with other ranged units. In fact, in Tier 1, I'd say one of the good things about the Techmarine is that in Tier 1, he will counter most other ranged units from just about every army. Just because he can stay in cover, not bleed, do damage. He can actually tank a lot of damage when he's in cover, especially if you have an armor upgrade, an early armor upgrade, giving him 800 health. It's pretty good. That's basically as much as the Force Commander at level 1, although part of that is that he's at level 2 with his Techmarine. But Techmarine is also good at leveling because the Techmarine just has good range damage, will especially kill a lot of Heretic models, or just any of the models on a lot of starting squads like Guardians, and by Guardians I actually mean Dire Avengers, Guardsmen also, Hormagaunts, Termagaunts, everything. Except for Chaos Space Marines and Tax, although the Techmarine will still do okay against them, just because he will stay in cover, tank a lot of damage, not take any bleed unless he actually dies, while Tax and Chaos Space Marines will lose models. Shotgun Blast definitely going to go down here, but does not knock back some of the Heretics, which is kind of bad. Sometimes that happens, but that does stall out the Heretics long enough for this Devastator team to set up. And we have an interesting build from Red Rupee. He goes for the double Devastator build, which is, you know, a decent answer to these Chaos Raptors. Obviously, Chaos Raptors can counter 1 Devastator, but if you get 2 Devastators, the second one can cover the first one. It's more of an Eldar thing, and it works better for Eldar because they have Banshees to support their suppression teams, but it can work with any race. Chaos Lord is chasing down scouts. Now, I often talk about how good the Combi Flamer is. This is actually a matchup where I can see opting out of the Combi Flamer, even though it can still do just fine. The main thing, though, is that the Combi Flamer, it does just do piercing damage. It won't bleed Space Marines as much as it will most of the other races. And Red Rupee does use that Flamer Tax Squad. Again, very good just because it's tough to force off. Tax are so tough. You can even sometimes shoot at them while they're burning generators, and they can just tank the damage while they just continue to burn down generators. Red Rupee is getting the decap off on Blessed Spartan's natural power node. And Blessed Spartan's actually going for a second Chaos Raptor squad, so he's deciding to counter double Devastators with double Chaos Raptors. And Chaos Raptors, I actually feel like, I mean, they're good, but not that good. The main thing is just that they are a jump unit, so they will hard counter any melee squad, any range squad, and any setup team. They will lose to just about any melee squad, though. So jumping them into a range squad is actually a really bad idea. Blessed Spartan has actually managed to backcap Red Rupee's natural victory point, and even noted up this side power node over here, in part because he lost his own power. Both players going to Tier 2 with some very heavy Tier 1 builds. We have these double Chaos Raptors on top of the typical Heretic, CSM, Heretic, and one Shotgun Scout Squad actually goes down from the Chaos Raptors. And that was a Shotgun Scout Squad, but Red Rupee did put shotguns on his other Scout Squad. Also gave them the Sergeant upgrade, allows them to detect, throw grenades, and also just make them a little bit more durable. Chaos Space Marines idling here. Need to start capping, and they do. I'm actually observing this game. I actually got this game by observing them as they were playing, and I'm saying that the Razorback will be good. The Razorback is good because of, right now, Blessed Spartan's current build is not really well fit to handle AV. Basically, with your builds, sometimes you need to think in terms of, what am I going to do if my opponent chooses to get AV in Tier 2? And Blessed Spartan's build is good anti-infantry, but it's not really good AV, because none of these units can be upgraded to AV in Tier 2. The Chaos Raptors can get Meltaguns in Tier 3, but that's a long way away. So until Blessed Spartan gets some kind of AV unit on the field, this Razorback is pretty much uncountered. Even with all of these Chaos units here, the Razorback is pretty much uncountered. It's taking some light damage from the Raptors just because there are melee squads, so they have a higher base DPS than most ranged units. But it's still not that much. This is definitely a winning fight for Red Rupee overall. Heretics way too extended up in the front base. They're actually lucky to not be dying as much as they are, or dying more than they are. They are dying as much as they are. Red Rupee actually jumps his attacks out of the Razorback, which I think is actually a bad idea, considering the Heretics could Doom Blast and actually bleed some of the attack models. They just can't do anything, can't do enough to the Razorback. I think he was worried, though, that the Razorback was getting swarmed and wouldn't even be able to move. Despite Red Rupee having a better build at the moment, his army composition is currently going to counter Blessed Spartan's. Blessed Spartan did take the map control with all of that, and he's got a significant VP lead, 453 to 230. And again, here we see that Techmarine, he's in melee with the Chaos Space Marines, but he's still, it's like not even worth it for the Chaos Space Marines because they're going to lose models. We have a Blood Sacrifice. I don't think that's worth it either. Blood Sacrifice, not really a very good global anymore, since these Bloodletters only do power melee instead of heavy melee. They were going to wipe that Techmarine, but he uses the powerful sweep from Bionics to cover his ass. And now we just have Bloodletters kind of walking up. They're just going to die, to be honest. With only power melee, they still don't do enough damage to that Razorback, although the Razorback is at 200 health. And that's actually just from a lot of melee from the Chaos Raptors and the Heretics. Just because basically it just took some damage, but then the Razorback has so little health that it's now at half health. If that were a Dreadnought, like, no problem. So we do have a pretty heavy melee build from Blessed Spartan with double Heretics, one with the Aspiring Champion, and 2 Chaos Raptor squads. Not the most a pretty weak melee squad in terms of their actual melee fighting ability, but certainly if you have 2 of them, that's going to be pretty good, since most of Red Rupee is still ranged. In fact, his entire army is ranged. Oh, and Blessed Spartan actually already going to Tier 3. He goes straight to Tier 3 with not getting, even though he didn't get any AV. No AV whatsoever. And I'm surprised he managed to make it to Tier 3 so fast, despite having his power decapped. And he's even doing better on the map control, too. Red Rupee could himself go to Tier 3. I don't know what he's saving up for. And he does need to repair this Razorback. He does have his scouts and his Techmarine, so he should get some repairs on that Razorback. Red Rupee also going to Tier 3. He made 1 Tier 2 buy. Blessed Spartan didn't make any. Both players in Tier 3. Blessed Spartan still winning on the victory point, still the better map control, and I think that's in part due to what I have Horace is talking about in the spectator chat, is that Red Rupee's army is static. And part of the problem with getting a double Devastator build is that it is actually a little tough on your map control, because Devastators are mostly going to be static, they're not moving around much, and you want them to be... You can't really use them for capping because they need to be set up. I mean, you can use them for capping, but they're not optimal capping units. And now this Razorback is in trouble because now we have some AV from Blessed Spartan. We have Meltaguns on the Chaos Raptors. I had totally forgot that was even in the game. But that is an AV option. And he does decide to he puts an Aspiring Champion on one Raptor squad and Meltaguns on the other. That's actually going to be pretty threatening to the Razorback. I think if the Razorback wants to stay in this game, he should upgrade to extra armor and make sure he keeps either the Techmarine or the shotguns inside the Razorback, but I don't know if it's going to last much longer. Although these Chaos Raptors luckily are mistargeting, not going after the Razorback, but now the Razorback not being microed. Red Rupee deciding to abandon that fight, knows he's kind of on the losing side, wants to get back some map control and some victory points since he's below 150. Both players in tier 3 now, and Blessed Spartan making his melee heavy build already even more melee centric with a Bloodletter squad. Bloodletters now have 1200 health instead of 1000, certainly making them pretty tough. That means they have 300 health per model. But I'm saying in the chat that I think maybe Blessed Spartan doesn't know that Bloodletters do heavy melee. I mean, that they don't do heavy melee anymore. They now do power melee, so they're not really effective vehicle counters. They might do okay against this Razorback just because they have high base DPS, and the Razorback has a pretty small HP pool. And meanwhile, Blessed Spartan does not have a mark on his Chaos Space Marines. And this is interesting because in some chats after the game, we were kind of mentioning that he should have gotten an icon of Tzeentch. I mean, a mark of Tzeentch on his Chaos Space Marines, but he kind of refused. And I think he's actually choosing not to get the mark of Tzeentch just because he doesn't want to, not because he doesn't realize how good it is. But I actually did the math recently, and getting Tzeentch Space Marines is just a much better upgrade than just getting Eternal War. I mean, Eternal War is a 20% increase. I actually did the math a bit. Tzeentch Space Marines, first of all, when you upgrade to Tzeentch, you get a... Oh, you know what? Let's stop talking about that, because we're going to watch this engagement. Double Devastators getting jumped by 2 jump squads. Bloodletters go down. 1 Devastator goes down. And I think this other Devastator is going to go down too. Yes, it does. So we had big losses from both sides. Red Rupee losing both of his Devastators, which is kind of sad. Blessed Spartan himself losing that fresh Bloodletter squad. But he does get a Predator out on the field, and that's going to be tough now. Obviously, we do have Meltaguns. We still have these Meltaguns. But, you know, it's hard to deal. It can actually be hard to deal with vehicles when there are more than one of them on the field. I mean, usually you get AV, fine, you can deal with one vehicle, but it can be really hard to deal with 2 vehicles, especially these kinds of vehicles, tanks, and then even this transport, because they have high speed, unlike walkers, which have low speed, and they can be pretty easy to snare and then just kill them. Obviously, Predators and the like, and Razorbacks, you can just drive them out of there once they start getting low on health. So, with good micro, they can all be pretty tough to kill, but this Space Marine Predator in a lot of trouble right now. It does go down from the combined might of the Chaos Predator and also the Meltaguns jumping in. So as difficult as I was saying that it is to kill a Predator, Blessed Spartan just did it with a Predator of his own. So that kind of leaves Red Rupee on the back foot of things. His Chaos Lord is on the floor, though. He did lose his Chaos Lord. I was trying to say about the Mark of Tzeentch on the Chaos Space Marines. Basically, it's a roughly... First of all, it's a base damage increase. The base DPS is increased by about 37% on Tzeentch Space Marines. So just getting the Mark of Tzeentch increases your damage by 37%. That's more than 20% from Eternal War. Also, then there are also the damage modifiers against... That's against regular infantry. So against regular infantry, Mark of Tzeentch is an increase of about 37%. Against heavy infantry, getting the Mark of Tzeentch is a damage increase of about 150%. And then against super heavy infantry, getting the Mark of Tzeentch is a damage increase of about 350%. 350, 150. So that means that it's especially worth it to get the Mark of Tzeentch against both Chaos, basically any power armor race, Chaos, Space Marines, as well as Grey Knights. Don't leave your Space Marines, your Space Marines as vanilla, your Chaos Space Marines as vanilla. It's just not worth it. And now the las cannon on this Predator, going to send it out of control. And then the las cannon Predator goes down. Lots of vehicles dying. But, you know, a heavy vehicle play can really work with the Techmarine, because he is always there to repair. Space Marine players also frequently get shotgun scouts, and we have 2 squads of scouts that are inside the Razorback, which has still managed to stay alive. Level 2 now, 440 health. And Red Rupee really low on the victory points right now, though. Both players have enough red to drop nukes. And Spartan even has a 3 cap. He is going to take this point with his Techmarine, while he takes this side with his shotgun scouts. Techmarine now upgraded to the plasma gun. I personally think that this is a no-brainer buy against any power armor race. It does ridiculous damage. It actually does. I think it actually does more damage than a fully upgraded Zinj Space Marine, Chaos Space Marine squad. If you use the overcharge ability. And now we have a drop coming in. And that drop will be a Venerable Dreadnought. And that's going to be tough on Blessed Spartan. He just lost most of his AV. His only AV left are the Chaos Raptors, and they might not really be enough. And now we have a big fight going down right here. Everything swarming around the Dreadnought. And now we have an Imperial Abyss kind of going off in the middle of Spartan's units, and he's walking his units right in the middle of the Abyss, walking past. I think at this point he's actually just given up once he saw the Venerable Dreadnought, and now they're walking back into the Imperial Abyss, not even retreating. He basically just gave up, which is kind of sad considering he was winning the entire game and also did some really nice things, I think. But yeah, that's the game. It was a pretty good game, although the ending was kind of disappointing. I still hope you like some of the things that happened during the game itself. Have a good night.